I want to talk about the impact of American gospel.
I was kind of caught up a little bit into some false teaching, and then the movie became kind of a turning point to kind of help me see the truth.
People are going to get saved watching this documentary.
Oh, amen.
It is impacting lives globally.
It is probably one of the most important documentaries you'll ever watch.
Some things are going to help you recover from false teachings you were caught up in that used you, abused you, and exploited what you have.
AGTV just has all these resources from all of these different documentaries talking about the gospel.
Does God still speak to us outside of Scripture, apart from Scripture?
It is called the law-gospel distinction.
And is God currently whispering to us in nudgings and impressions and promptings and still small voices?
Carefully curated content that is biblical.
Remember, in the Bible, discernment is both commended and commanded.
It's so biblical, it's to the point. There's no fluff, there's no confusion.
Why the subject of spiritual warfare? Most people probably don't really know what true spiritual warfare is, and many are confused about the nature of it.
Not just sermons, but learning about church history, learning about Christianity in America, where it came from.
It will help you evangelize. It will help you listen to preaching. It will help you when it comes to the doctrine of assurance.
You have podcasts on there, you have live stream, so much content on there. Whether you are a seasoned theologian or someone who's new to the faith, it's something for everyone.
The gospel is good news, and the gospel is what God has done specifically in the person of Christ.
The core doctrines of the Christian faith handed down by the apostles to the churches that the churches were called to guard.
He charged them to guard the flock. Against what? Against false teachers that will creep into the church and drag away sheep.
For people who are churched or unchurched, AGTV is a great resource in your toolbox in order to stimulate conversations about the gospel and to help kind of dismantle some of the falsehoods that people who grow up in a Christian context don't even realize are unbiblical and not theologically sound.
We want to make sure we're not preaching another gospel or a false gospel.
Bad theology hurts people. If you have a weak link, then you have a weakened gospel.
If we don't embrace these truths, we're not within the bounds of historic Orthodox Christianity.
I want to help to put your feet on the solid rock of Scripture. That's where I'm going to point you, to Christ and to His Word. And resources like AGTV are exactly purposed for just such a thing.
You guys, welcome to the Standard of Truth podcast, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Happy Wednesday. Hey, Lady G, I see you said this was your first time joining us live, and so I'm so glad to have you here. Shout out to all of you guys in the live chat, whether you're watching on Rumble, YouTube, Twitter, or old trusty Facebook. Welcome, and I hope you're having an amazing Wednesday. I want to go ahead and acknowledge a super chat. Sunkiss went ahead and already blessed the super chat. Oh, the volume is down? Okay. I don't know. Is that a little better? Do I sound better, you guys? Let me know. I did get a new audio mixer. Okay, so this is the first show where we're using the audio mixer. And I just want to know if the audio sounds great. Give me a thumbs up in the live chat if it sounds fine, or if you're like, nah, sis, we need you, we need you a little bit louder. Thumbs up or number one. A number one in the chat would be sufficient. So, how does it sound? Does everybody sound great? Okay, nobody's interacting with me and telling me. So, okay, great. Thank you. Hey, Jay. J Rod is in the house so much. I'm so glad to see you. And Alita Suarez says, "Hi, girl. First time. I watch your lives. Don't know you, but I love you, real sister in Christ. Mwah. Love you too. Thank you so much for joining me tonight." As I was saying, I got a new audio mixer. Y'all, it was time for the upgrade. I was using the same mixer that I started out with when I was streaming from my iPad. So it was time. I'm still learning how to work it. It's kind of like way over there. I don't know what I'm doing. And so we're just gonna hope for the best. I don't know. But anyway, hopefully you've been staying dry. If you've been in Metro Atlanta, it's been very, very rainy. Yesterday, I attended the homeschool day at the Capitol. And I, pushed through. First of all, if you know anything about homeschoolers, we don't get up early, right? Like we're not up at 5:30 and out at a bus stop waiting for someone to pick us up. So to have to wake children up at 5:30 in the morning so that we could make it to the state capitol by 8:30 in the morning was a feat. Okay. It was serious. But that was my first time in the Capitol building. And I actually ran into a beautiful sister in the Lord who was on the show this past Friday. My sister in the Lord, Tish Klein Dienst. I promise I will get it right. It is not my native language. And so, but I saw her and I met her kids, and it was super cool. So, homeschool day at the Capitol was where I was spending. Super wet, hair got all rained out. It's time for a touch up anyway. And so, anyway, I don't want to waste too much time with all of these pleasantries. I want to go ahead and get into the show. As you guys know, these are some strange times that we are living in. And the things that are happening right now, quite frankly, they are keeping me filled to the brim with topics to cover. However, what we're going to discuss tonight, it is way deeper and way more layered than just a few out of control orangutan females that just so happen to be getting media attention. So in this video, we're going to be examining the atrocious and toxic matriarchy of two individuals in particular. We have Dolton, Illinois Mayor Tiffany Henyard, and then we also have East Point Mayor. East Point is in Michigan. East Point Mayor Monique Owens. Now, I haven't done much content on, actually, I haven't done any content on Monique Owens, and I believe I've only covered Tiffany once because the news clip that I used, they actually demonetized that video, and I thought that was interesting. However, I'm not worried about that at this point, and I'm not ignoring Tiffany or Monique. It's just that the problems that both of these women represent, they are part of a much broader conversation. And I think at this point, I'm just ready to go ahead and just kind of lay it all out on the line to explain to you what the glaring issues are and how we need to be thinking rightly and biblical about all of this. Now, hold on a second. Now, Timber, listen. We're gonna let you stay in here, but you can't show out, okay? That food is not for you. You either gonna sit yourself down in that corner or you can see yourself out and get into your kennel, okay? Tim, what's your name? Which child is that? Is that you, Hannah? Take Timber out. See, y'all, I have a dog and he's part of the family, and he normally sits in this room during every live stream, just quiet as a church mouse, just guarding his master with his life. But Robert's in here eating his dinner because this is Robert's fifth job after he works supporting this family and slaying the dragons out there and doing all the other things that he does. Working the cameras for me and supporting me on this show is his fifth job. And so Robert's eating and the dog just decided he was going to show out. So anyway, before I begin, I want to address any of my critics or detractors who you found or are finding yourself worshiping at the altar of the false god of melanin, I want you to know that you are welcome here. Okay, you are welcome here because this is a Christian channel where the gospel of Christ is proclaimed freely and often. And so we want you here. We want you to hear the truth of God's word as it is rightly proclaimed. However, if you are going to stay here and if you're going to engage, please know that I am very candid and I am very upfront about my disdain for false God worship. And that includes narcissistic self-worship of your own ethnic image or your image of other image bearers who look like you. So, anytime you find yourself defending bad behavior or you're expecting others to celebrate or ignore bad behavior just because the person looks like you might be perhaps engaging in a very dangerous form of idolatry. And so, if you've been on this channel for any length of time, you've been here long enough, you should know by now that I do take the word of God very seriously. And while I do not purport to have mastery over, every area of sin in my life because, well, for one, that's just not possible, right? As long as we're in this tent of flesh, we are going to struggle and war with sin. However, no one will achieve sinless perfection in this life. And if you claim to have done that, you just sinned because you're lying. And now you need to go repent. So you see how that works? That's just how it works. But seriously, I am still here on this wicked earth, stuck in this body of sin, right? I was born with it. I was born and shaped in iniquity, just like every other son or daughter of Adam. And even still, I talk about ethnic idolatry because I used to be bound to the sin of ethnic idolatry. And the Lord, He has been gracious and He has freed me from that bondage. And now I want to help free others. I don't have the power to free you. However, I'm just a messenger, right? An echo, an ambassador, a tool used by God to share with you my struggle with this sin and what the Lord has done in my heart to make me alive in Christ Jesus. So, we're going to examine a textbook case of what toxic matriarchy looks like. And when a society or a community is under matriarchal rule, the devastation, the chaos, the pure judgment and peril that comes along with it when it is left unchecked. So essentially, my thesis tonight, I am going to be discussing matriarchy using some very real life examples. And then I'm going to compare that to the preferred God ordained method of leadership, which is purposeful patriarchy. So, if you guys haven't noticed, I am compiling a glossary of words and terminology and a lexicon to help you understand these concepts. So you've heard the term orangutan. You may have heard the term, unbiblical bootleggers or godless goons or, the melanin messiah. You can add purposeful patriarchy and you can add matriarchal squalor to the lexicon. And when you think of these terms, they are going to help you understand the concepts behind them. So walk along with me up to the Midwest section of our nation, and we're going to peep in on the nasty, the disrespectful, downright criminal behavior of East Point, Michigan Mayor Monique Owens. You guys take a listen at this.
The hearing of the public is now open.
I'm here in support of Councilman Curley.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna stop you right there, or we're gonna stop the council meeting because I'm not gonna let you speak on something that has to do with police, with the police.
What I was going to say.
Mayor,
you have no idea what I was going to say.
Well, I'm gonna let her speak, but I'm okay. Hold on. You're gonna have order, but if you're speaking on something that has to do with something that has to do with a police report, we're gonna respect the people that's in that.
Point of order, Mr. Albright, regarding interruption of someone speaking in.
And I'm gonna have a point of order, and I'm gonna talk over you. This is gonna be one of those meetings y'all never seen before. You're not gonna disrespect people that have things going on.
Knowing what I was going to
Okay,
say.
well, I
Talk about public things.
She can talk about public things, but I'm giving her a warning, just like we have always given people warnings before they spoke on certain things.
That's inappropriate.
And I have First Amendment rights as well.
I would like to have our city attorney give the opinion about people coming up and speaking at the hearing of the public, if you could do that.
City attorney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Members of the public have a right to address the city council, or they may speak individually about a member of the council as well.
But I also have my First Amendment right. And if you're saying something out of line as my First Amendment right, whether a mayor or not a mayor, I'm going to speak.
And though I think I've met you a couple of times, Harvey, but I really don't know you. But I do know a lot of people that do know you. They have always admired you. They've respected you for all your years of community involvement, political service. I think it's ridiculous that you're now in this position of defending yourself against really what I consider to be outrageous claims.
You're not going to sit here and assault me, lady I never met. Don't call my name because I don't know what book you're reading, and I don't care. If I am a person, a victim, you're not going to use that platform to re-victimize anyone. And no one in this audience is going to do that. To no woman and to no person. Anyone else would like to speak at this time? If there is a police report out or something that you've seen, you let that person and that victim and that person who's fighting that deal with the courts. You don't use that platform to victimize a person that felt like it was assaulted or fearful of their life. You don't use that platform for that. Nobody will. No one. As long as I'm mayor, you don't use that platform to re-victimize anyone, whether it's a guy, woman, or anybody. That is not the place. Now, if someone wants to talk about what's going on in this city and not someone's personal business, the hearing of the public is now open.
Karen Morajan, East Point resident. This is ridiculous. There's no reason for this. We have First Amendment rights. Part of our First Amendment right clearly states we have the right to redress our government without fear of reprisal or retaliation. If you can't take the criticism, you should not be mayor. Enough is enough.
This is a personal matter. It's not about criticizing. You can criticize my policy. You stop it.
Let's get people.
You stop it.
Violating my First
and you're violating my rights as a person that can call the police and use the police department for my rights. If someone chooses to call the police, that is their right. You don't victimize them for that.
You are out.
You are out of line. You are out of line.
You're out of point of order.
You are out of line.
Point of order. You are out of line.
You are out of line. Now, do you want to stand there and talk about your cats and your dogs in the community, but you won't talk about me?
You don't interfere
okay?
my free speech.
And you don't interfere with my free speech. You don't get to, you got 1 minute.
Of reprisal or
what else do you want to talk about?
Would you like the news crew to come out?
The news already comes out.
That's it. I guess we're done. Thank you very much for running this city.
East Point's mayor went on a tirade, and Fox 2's Dave Kinchin is live to tell us all about it. What happened, Dave?
Well, this was a very heated meeting that happened 2 days ago, and East Point residents, well, they're still talking about it, taking it all in, and they're wondering what's going to happen next.
So you can never say the mayor disappointed you. You all disappoint me.
East Point's mayor putting her constituents on blast.
So don't blame the mayor for your city. Blame yourselves, because it's deep-rooted.
Mayor Monique Owens closed the January 17th council meeting with a 15-minute fireworks-filled finale after starting out with remarks honoring Dr. Martin Luther King for his teachings on love and unity. Owens making it clear she's sick of taking unfair criticism for what residents call a rise in crime.
It's a little rough. It's getting a little rough. I don't know why it didn't used to be.
A puppet doesn't say anything. They're moved by whatever goes on.
We showed video of the tirade to East Point residents. Many are stunned.
That was surprising that Barry did all that.
She was kind of rough. I thought she would have spoke a little better.
You were shocked by that?
Yeah, I didn't even know that until you just told me. I didn't even know that was the mayor talking like that.
Owens said she's been subjected to a double standard as the first black woman elected mayor of East Point and referenced an alleged incident with a fellow council member.
The same rules and the standards apply to different people. That's not love. I had someone up here that actually got in my face, and I had to make a police report. put a PPL out on that person. If you can't respect the people that lead your community, how you expect people to respect your property, respect your car, respect your families, and you can't even respect mine.
We're here at City Hall. Let's see if we can find the mayor and talk to her about those comments. All right, well, City Hall's closed for the day. Let's stop by the mayor's house and see if we can get answers there. Okay, so now we're here at the mayor's house, and we'll see if we can have a chat. Madam Mayor, it's Dave Kinchin from Fox 2. Can we have a word? Well, no luck finding the mayor, and we do want to point out many residents we talked with say they understand where Owens is coming from.
She kind of has a point. If everybody as a community can come together.
I know there was a long clip, but sometimes I kind of have to let you guys see it and take it all in so you can just understand the full perspective and scope of what we are dealing with. So in this clip, we start out by you seeing this older woman, right? She opens up and she just begins to speak. You know, if you've ever been to a city council meeting, they open up the floor for a public comment. I think I've done it maybe once or twice. And so it's very intimidating because it's this room full of people sometimes, if it's something really important going on. And then you have, you know, the city council sitting there and you're kind of just standing up there on the microphone. So she begins to speak. And before she can even get the words out, what does this orangutan do? Right? She tries to shut down the lady before she's even had a chance to get 2 words out, right? She just flats out. She starts threatening and acting all kinds of disrespectful and just acting ugly. And I don't know who this woman thinks she is and who told her that her boo-boo don't stink, but somebody has emboldened this orangutan to where she thinks that she can speak to these people like they are children. Y'all, what you just witnessed, this right here, this is Big Mama. This is Big Mama right here. This is that black girl magic, who gon' check me boo? Yes, queen with the K, toxic, matriarchal cesspool of squalor. That's what this is. And when I tell you, I cannot stand listening or seeing this type of behavior because it puts me in a very bad headspace. This is the type of foolishness. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, that has raised 3 generations of emasculated, unmarriageable men, and the same type of women that has raised these rebellious, insufferable, unmarriageable women. These are their mamas. Okay, so if Papa was a Rolling Stone, then Big Mama's the bottom broad, right? She is the one that is always highly abrasive. She don't know how to talk to people. She only got one level, and it's 10, right? This is the matriarchal squalor that these cities are in, and people voted for this. And do you want to know why? They voted for this because it's familiar to them. So it's 2 sides of this issue. You have those who were raised in this matriarchal cesspool of squalor. They're the 3rd generation. They're just now, was it the Gen Zs that are 18 and up? This is normal to them, right? Then you have your millennials. They were raised because Gen X is their mamas, right? And then you've got those geriatric Gen Xers. This is them. They were raised by the baby boomers who started all of this. And so you have 2 aspects of this. You have people who vote for this because this is familiar to them. They like, oh, this is my mama, this my auntie, I know this. And those are the black bread ones. And then on the white side, they vote for this because of white guilt, right? They've been guilted into saying, you know, you're just against diversity and equity and inclusion, and it's our time. So you need to vote for this, not because this person has demonstrated that they're qualified. They've done nothing other than show up and be black. They're the first. It's a vanity metric. So you got white people who vote because they're like, you know, if I don't, I'm not going to be, you know, with the in crowd, and I won't be viewed as, you know, I'll be viewed as old fashioned. So let me just go ahead and vote. And then the black ones, they like, oh, well, you know, that's just how Mika is, you know, it's familiar to them. They've been forced to accept this because this torment and torture, it is par for the course in the Black breeding construct of matriarchal Blackness. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. This is part of the behavioral noose that they put around your neck, and you must bow down. Oh yes, you must be quiet when they're talking, because you don't have your own opinions. You don't have your own thoughts. You just stand there and you listen to me, the matriarch, because I'm Big Mama and I'm on top, right? What is going on in the mind of the people who voted for this? I'm going to show you what's going on in the minds of the ones who voted for this or who support this. They really don't believe in holding people accountable, and they were raised by this woman. I'm gonna keep saying it. It's your Kirk Franklins who, when you have to bring these women and hold them accountable and bring their actions to account, they're the ones, particularly the males, that say, we can't say nothing about Black woman. We gotta protect her at all costs because she's the queen. And we just, no matter what, his own mama, who to this day won't tell the truth about who his daddy is, and lied with 2 pieces of DNA evidence that prove that she lying. She will stand there and look you in the face and be like, it ain't true. The blood is wrong. Somebody must have conspired and gave him a blood transfusion and put somebody else's blood in his body. I know y'all retrieved this blood from this man and it's verified it belongs to him, but that DNA test, that is wrong. These are the people. They were raised by this Big Mama. I want to go ahead and let you see something else. Look at this. Oh, wait a minute.
We need to ensure that
we are not considering laws, changes to law.
She's already proved she's going to do what she thinks she can do.
Hold on. I'm missing a slot. Give me one quick second. It's supposed to be in slot 400. Let me go ahead and grab it really quickly. Hold on. Oh.
We do want to point out many residents we talked with say they understand where Owens is coming from.
She kind of has a point. If everybody as a community can come together.
I wanted to play that again because that's 2 men. You had an older one and the younger one, and you saw it correctly. The first man in the clip, before, when they were kind of showing to him her behavior, he kind of laughed it off because to him, this is just an everyday Wednesday in Mayberry, right? Like his response, I remember, he was like, she was kind of rough. But his response, he wasn't really appalled. He didn't demonstrate like, oh my goodness, that type of behavior is unacceptable. This is the mayor? He was just so cool and laid back about it. He wasn't appalled at all. And do you want to know why? He's been around women like this all his life, right? This behavior this is his sister. This is his mama. This is his auntie, his girlfriends, maybe even his wife, if he has one. I don't know. He's an archetype, right? We're just using him as an example. This man laughed it off because this type of energy is a staple in his world. And then you have the younger boy, the younger gentleman. This is literally all he knows. So to him, this is normal. So what else did you expect him to say? He's been around women like this all his life. And so he's been trained to agree no matter what, right? Because he knows failure to agree and see her as, well, she kind of has a point. He knows that makes his life miserable. And so he's been under the same room with this type of orangutan energy. He already knows that to get peace and to have his just basic needs met and to keep her off his back, he just has to cooperate and agree because there's no winning an argument against her. So it's like you can't beat him, join her. Like in his mind, coming together as a community is really, if we all just don't bow down and do what she says and just get on her program, we won't have any problems. And we just need to get along and come together. Like, it's not substantive, but this is what 3 generations of bastards raising bastards, absent purposeful patriarchy, this is what it looks like. You have an entire community being bullied, shamed, yelled at, shut down, silenced, disrespected, and treated like children. Because when Big Mama's in charge, right? Like when the matriarchy is given control like this is what you get. Now, this same mayor, I saw somebody put it in the chat, was found guilty of improperly using a grant that she received under the CARES Act. And I want you to take a look at the lack of self-awareness here. Take a look at this.
She's already proved she's going to do what she thinks she can do and what she can get away with. She's already said she's the mayor.
Harvey Creech is a proud East Point resident of 50-plus years. Upset to learn the mayor is now in the news again.
We don't need it. We don't need any more publicity than what we've got right now.
This afternoon, Mayor Owens was arraigned on a charge of false pretenses, a 5-year felony, accused of lying on a COVID relief application in 2020 and receiving a $10,000 CARES Act grant from Macomb County.
The charges come about as a result of obtaining these funds on the application process, as well as some of the information that was provided that wasn't true.
Prosecutor Peter Lucido says the grant was for an LLC Owens owns. According to public record, the mayor has 4 businesses in her name.
Do you know what exactly she said that was a lie or was not true?
Well, I'm not going to get into the details in specifics because the case is still pending. But in generic wise, that, she's made false statements of fact on an application.
Owens is due back in court next month, and Lucido says the office continues to make corruption a focus. Residents say they want answers.
If she ended up being found guilty on a 5-year felony, what do you think should happen to her as mayor?
She needs to be removed, simple as that.
She's innocent until proven guilty, but unfortunately, when it is a high-ranking official, such as an elected official,
We begin tonight with that courtroom clash between the mayor of East Point and the judge during her sentencing hearing today. Monique Owens is now sentenced to 6 months probation. She also has to perform 100 hours of community service for misusing COVID-19 relief money for her personal business. 7 Action News reporter Sarah Michaels is outside Macomb County Court with how Owens caused the judge to be outraged inside that courtroom.
In the 4 years that Monique Owens has been East Point's mayor, she has been charged with fraud and sued by residents. You could say that it's been a rocky road, much like court Thursday morning.
Even though I pled what I pled, I know that I am not a fraud.
Even though in September, East Point Mayor Monique Owens pled no contest for fraudulently applying for a grant, Thursday, at her sentencing, she said to cameras,
"Don't believe the allegations that you have heard about me."
The Macomb County judge didn't take that well.
Are you talking to the TV or are you talking to me as the judge? Because I don't think you're talking to me as the judge. And you're really telling me you did absolutely nothing wrong and therefore this case should be proceeding differently.
This fall, the 39-year-old mayor was charged for falsely stating on a 2020 CARES Act grant that her business, Naturally Funny Talent Agency, was 51% veteran-owned. It's not, and that it had more than 100 employees. It doesn't. Owens received $10,000 from the grant and in September was ordered to pay that money back in restitution, which she did. The crime adds to Owens' tumultuous time in office. She's also being sued by East Point residents for suppressing citizen comments in 2022. Are you disappointed in the mayor?
Very, very disappointed.
Owens made history in 2019 as the city's first black mayor. Tanja Price says that she has lived in East Point for 10 years and was thrilled to vote for Owens 4 years ago. Now, after years of drama, she says that she's glad to see Owens' term coming to an end.
I found that very offensive. I think that if you do something wrong, if you really have a change in heart, a change in your ways, what's to smile about?
Price is referring to this smile in court Thursday. I reached out to Owens for comment and did not hear back. The judge ultimately sentenced her to 100 days of community service and 6 months probation, along with a few choice words.
Personally, I think you are a disappointment to our community and to the citizens of East Point.
And this week, East Point has elected a new mayor, Michael Kleinfeld. He has said that his top priority as mayor will be to improve the perception of East Point. At the Macomb County Courthouse, Sarah Michaels, 7 Action News.
All right.
Okay, so I see somebody in the chat. Welcome, JV the Great. I saw your comment where you advise that you don't want to make this a Black issue, but why are we constantly seeing Black representatives in these positions? I've been taking my audience on this journey of explaining how we got here and why none of this is not like just a fluke, or this is by design. There's a term that I've coined called the Black breeding of the Negro American, and I've done some content on it. It's I'm going to touch base on it a little bit in this video, but I do encourage you to go back and watch. Was it my live stream from last Friday? I may have done some shorter excerpts that I published since then, but you need to get to the point where you need to be free to speak the truth. You don't need to provide these qualifiers and say things like, I don't want to make it seem like it's a Black thing. No. Right now, this is an in-house discussion, and we need to be able to speak the truth in love, even though there is some sharp correction, because this is a Black problem. It's not a coincidence that we are seeing all over this country, in these liberal cities, all of these matriarchal-led cities, something is going on with all of the leadership, and they all have something in common. Now, you can be naive and be like, well, it just so happens. Or you can stay around for this journey as I walk you through how we got here. So to be clear, I'm an American Negro, right? These are the black bread pro-blackity blacks. That's a different breed of people. My people are your Frederick Douglasses and your Booker T. Washingtons. Like those are my people. These right here, these not my people. And just because we may share the same ethnic image and have equivalent melanin counts, or we're on the same spectrum of melanin, this is a character issue. A lot of this is steeped in a godless philosophy. And so I just wanted to stop and address your comment so that you know that you're observing something and you're close. But I think if you stick around a little longer, you'll understand why I speak the way that I do, why I use the lexicon and language that I do, because it matters. So let me go ahead and engage with that clip that I just showed you. It was rather long, and a lot happened in that clip. The point, though, that I want to drive home, you guys, is these women, they submit to no one, right? They are a law unto themselves, right? It is a constant power struggle with them. These types of women, they are so toxic. They are so rebellious. They are the spark and the catalyst of their own destruction, and they don't even care. Like these are your hungry for power types, because they use power to validate themselves and then to silence the cries of their inner misery, right? They try to silence their personal inadequacy and to overcome and overcompensate for their series of bad decisions and poor choices that they've made over the course of their life. So this encompasses, this is the orangutan behavior that I've described on previous live streams. Like this orangutan right here, she sat there smiling during her sentencing. And not just that, but she refused to demonstrate or accept any sort of accountability for what she did. But instead, her default was to gaslight those who were listening. And she told them, don't listen to what's being said about her, as if it hasn't already been proven what she did, as if people are just making this up. This is how you know that she's not just an orangutan, but she's a narcissist, because she cannot manage her misery And what she does is she just creates an alternate reality. The world is not how it is. The world is how she wishes it to be. There's nothing wrong with her. She is not the problem. It's the judge, right? It's the judge is wrong. Those people out there are wrong. Everyone is wrong but her. She's not a fraud, and you're just supposed to act like there is nothing to see here. There's nothing going on. She is the victim, the poor, single mom, Black woman who's the first mayor, and it's the white supremacist system. That's what it is. It's the white supremacist system that just doesn't want her to win. That's the narrative that you're supposed to walk away believing. But here's the truth. The truth is that these women are lost, not just spiritually. They're lost emotionally. They don't have, even pagans can have the emotional maturity to realize, okay, this is not going to end well for me. So I need to move and navigate and do something a little different. They can't. These women, they make a series of bad decisions fueled by a desire to just fill a void that only God can fill. And I'm going to talk a little more about that in greater detail later tonight. But before I get there, y'all, we need to discuss Tiffany Henyard. Okay, now I've done a video in the past on the Dalton, Illinois mayor who basically, she's done so much that it's just kind of difficult to keep up with. Now that's a more current, recent issue. I highlighted and profiled Monique Owens. I understand she's no longer the mayor anymore, but this matters. I am setting up the scenario so that you understand this matriarchal squalor that I'm talking about. And eventually I'm going to get there. Stick with me. I'm going to contrast that with purposeful patriarchy. I know patriarchy is a term that is just supposed to be, we're just supposed to tear down and despise the patriarchy. But that's part of how we got here. Okay, so getting back to Tiffany Henyard, she's done so much, it's hard for us to keep up with, but while she definitely fits the description of an out-of-control orangutan, we're discussing her in this video because it's going to speak to the results of what happens when we abandon purposeful patriarchy in lieu of this cesspool of matriarchy. So y'all take a look at this.
You have to give respect. You guys want respect, y'all have to give it. I am your leader. I am the one that won by 82%. I am the one that carry you, trustee Jason House, you, and a belcher that never wins anything, over the hump. That's why you guys have your seats that you have before you. So when you get in these board meetings and you act a fool, y'all should stop. Because at the end of the day, all we've been doing, everybody, is fighting since I became mayor. If y'all want to be leaders, y'all got to act like it. Y'all know y'all not leaders. Y'all followers. Stop following each other, because nobody can lead nobody in your group. Not one of y'all.
Tiffany Nelson Jaworski gives direction on that. However, I'm going to say this in terms of kind of all the things that have been said. First, I want to commend Trustee Norwood, Trustee Tammy Brown, Trustee Kiana Belcher.
Trustee.
The floor is mine, Mayor.
Trustee.
I want to commend them for standing in here during these attacks.
Trustee.
I know the mayor does not want to hear what he said. However,
this is why the meetings get out of order. Can you stay on track with what we're talking about with just corporate bills? If you want to say your comment, you can say your comment after it's a motion and a second on the floor, trustee. Trustee. It's a motion and second on the floor regarding the bills. Can we stay the course?
I'm getting towards the bills, Mayor.
Trustee, you can make your statement after we're done with the bills, trustee.
And the budget.
Trustee.
So.
Trustee, but you want to lead though, right? This how we get nowhere. We get nowhere because you guys want it your way. Y'all don't follow no Robert rules of order. Y'all want to get out of order when y'all want to talk. But come on, I am worried about it. Don't worry about it. The rest is for the find out what y'all been up to in 1 second. Don't worry about it. But what I'm saying to you is stick to the agenda. We on corporate bills. This is why we stay here all night.
But everybody was giving acknowledgement. So we want to talk about the bills and what the board has cut out. The bills are not being paid currently. At this very moment.
I'm gonna let you out, but I'm just trying to show y'all how y'all be so disrespectful, and y'all expect the respect to be respect. You out of order, trustee. Stick to the facts. The facts is on the agenda.
So
go to the bill.
And I will name for a state bank, which is our police vehicles, the Durangos and the Fiats for public works. That bill was approved by the board May of 2023. We received an email stating that those cars will be repossessed if we do not get any payment. That email had been communicated already. Nobody responded. So imagine my surprise, 7 months later, I get an email and I forward the email over like I do the other 15 that I've received. No response. And then come in here and say the board cut something out. I'm going over these construction, repaved all those streets. We're happy for that. Board approved that. June of 2023, they are $300,000. Just got an email 2 days ago about the police ammunition. Hasn't been paid. Overdue for 23. That hadn't even been presented to the board.
Wow.
So the board is approving what's needed. Another one, I'm getting calls about electricity, lights not being put on. Residents say the board hasn't approved it. Mead, which is the light post. For those who are not getting their lights turned on, board approved that. September 2023, lights still not on. Mead still has not received the payment. So this circus that's being put on right now about put something back in the budget, we've seen there, it's been reported, and you know this is gonna end up with another video, because we're gonna put the documentation out there. Everybody, we can come in here, say what we want to. At the end of the day, vendors are not being paid. Board approved it, the vendors are not being paid. So when you sit here and we talk about how we don't have, the only item from the police budget specifically, and I'm saying that, I understand from each one, I understand that everybody up there had to say what they were told to say, to be honest.
You do.
But I'm gonna say this, no, the police department works hard. The fire department works hard. Public works works hard. That's why I don't take any offense at what's being said, because I know where it's coming from. But if we're gonna just talk about this in real terms, the items taken out of the departments was the overtime. And that's because the overtime is being spent in ways that it shouldn't. But if we want to talk about more officers, gladly, we put that in there. And I've just listed several, and I have more items that have been approved by the board. People still haven't received the checks.
Crazy.
Brother Moore, you prayed us in on unity. You prayed us in, and it came with the most divisive speech I heard in my life. Don't pray for me no more. If we're going to do this and we're going to be honest about it, let's be honest and be direct. But if we're going to sit here and keep doing this, because I really wasn't going to make no speeches. I was going to sit here, but it's just coming. I'm going to read the same things that I read last meeting because it was given to us again, this meeting to approve, to take off the list. This is nothing new. This is the same stuff last time. But when the mayor doesn't get her way, she puts it down there and keeps trying to shove it down your throat until you have to approve it.
But none of this going back
I need to pause when it comes to order in here. You have to give respect. You guys want respect, y'all have to give. I am your leader. I am the one that won by 82%. You guys want respect, y'all have to give. I am your leader. I am the one that won by 82%. I am the one that carry you, trustee Jason House, you, and a belcher that never wins anything, over the hump. That's why you guys have your seats that you have before you. So when you get in these board meetings and you act a fool, y'all should stop. Because at the end of the day, all we've been doing, everybody, is fighting since I became mayor in the village of Dalton. I never thought in a million years that my team, the team that I ran with, including Allison Key for the clerk, would sit here and turn on me the way y'all did right, a week, 2 weeks into taking off. That showed me that you guys would have been planning, plotting, meeting. People already been snitching on y'all this entire time. It's sad. But
honey, this why I'm not involved in local politics, because see, local politics is rife with the ratchetangs, and I have an aversion to ratchetangs. They kind of they make I start tweaking when I get around them, and so this was hard to watch. So y'all forgive me if I start twitching. It's because the that was hard. That was hard. So let's go ahead and engage with that. So much was said in that clip, but you guys, this woman exhibits very narcissistic, predatory type behavior, in my opinion, right? So she seeks out the weak, and once she's determined that you are useful to her for something, it doesn't matter what it is, she'll attempt to exert power over you, dangling over your head whatever inadequacy or deficiency that you believe that you have, that she's already sniffed out. She will use it to exert power over you and to keep you controlled. This is why she still has allies. This is why she has the gentleman there that prayed the prayer. And like that guy was like, don't pray for me no more. And you could see that he was just sitting there with his head down. He couldn't even look up, right? He's just, these people are afraid of these types of women. The way she sat there and talked to a whole grown man, y'all, I don't advocate for things like this. I'm just making an observation and a point. But had this been 100 years ago, that man would have hauled off and bust. She wouldn't have no teeth left in her mouth. And when nobody had said anything, they'd be like, well, I mean, I'm not saying it's acceptable, nor am I saying we need to bring that back. That's not okay. Violence is never the answer. But I'm just saying it would have been so reprehensible for a woman to speak to a man like that, that if he would have hauled off and busted in the mouth, like everybody would have been like, "Ooh, it's about time." Like that kind, she need to be put down. You know what I'm saying? Like she has allies. And the reason why she has allies is because, one, we're dealing with 3 generations of people, male and female, who were raised by women like this, right? So this is why she can do that abusive speech toward whole grown women and be men and women, or just adults. This is a part of the matriarchal squalor that I'm talking about. Hence, you have the weaponization of whole municipalities or municipal departments, such as the police, right? She weaponizes the police. Or, she'll prevent a business from getting a business license. So she's controlling building and inspections and, withholding business licenses from people. Because if you're not on her team, if you're not Team Tiffany, then she got to cut you. She has to make you pay. You guys, she feels comfortable, completely comfortable talking to adults this way. And she plays the eternal victim because she's a narcissistic orangutan who is drunk with power, and she's motivated by greed and the complete submission of those that she perceives as weak. Or if she finds that there is a way that she can use you to her benefit to feed her ego. The orangutans are bad by themselves, but when you got a narcissistic one, that's like next level, right? That's like an orangutan that's nitro charged. All of this is narcissistic supply for her when she makes statements like, I'm your leader. Like, she don't even blink when she says that. There's no self-awareness, right? Have mercy. Okay, let's just move forward, right? Okay, here are just a few of the things that this mayor has done that's just not in the best interest of the people of Dalton, right? So you have here, she's leased vehicles and she's not making the car payments. And when I say she, meaning the office of the mayor that is responsible for these things, they're leasing vehicles, not making the payments. As it stands right now, there are about 6 police cars that might get repossessed if they haven't gotten repossessed already. Vehicles that the Public Works Department uses, those might get repossessed. That's crazy, right? This woman, she cannot give a proper accounting for what she is doing with the money that she's already spent. Right? There's no transparency. When you go and you ask to see, well, can we just see what the money was spent on? Don't nobody know nothing. Don't nobody see nothing. There's no transparency. It's already been documented that she has spent money on trips and crab legs. Ratchetangs, they love their crab legs. Hotels, flights, the usual ratchetang stuff. But not only that, there are still questions surrounding this Tiffany Cares Foundation, which is the charity that's named after her, that she claims she had nothing to do with. But that's just, people just love her so much. And they just love and care. They know how much she cares about the people suffering with the cancer, right? That this foundation just happens to bear her name and her likeness, but she don't have nothing to do with it. Y'all, the deceit is on 10 at this point. Now, it's already proven, right? It's already been proven by her own words and her own admission. She keeps saying that she doesn't have anything to do with this foundation, but I don't believe that is accurate based on public testimony from her own mouth. But we also know that taxpayer money was used to fund that charity. And so you would think that all of this would be enough to make people see like, okay, something is wrong here. And I do believe many people, they do see it. However, the abusive speech and our constant oratang showing out episodes, they're just used to that. They're used to that because that's what comes along with the Black cultural matriarchy. You're looking at 3 generations of people who were raised by this form of matriarchal Black breeding. It's like it's their language. It's what they respond to. It's Black breeding under the matriarchal squalor to where eventually it becomes normalized or excuses are made for it because you've heard them, well, that's just how, some Black women are. They were forced. They were forced to be this way. It's not their fault. They gotta hold it down, and they've been holding it down, and it's a lot. Because they do it, they don't want to do it, they don't want to be this way, but they have no choice. No, these women do it because they've been bred to be this way. These type of women, they reject purposeful patriarchy. They celebrate all things feminine. They bask in their rebellion. They pursue these types of power dynamics because they're dysfunctional. Their hearts are darkened, and all they care about are themselves. They're drunk with power. They are the center of the universe. Notice when you hear any of them talk, every time they talk, they have the same thing in common. They are the center of their world. You got to get on board with them and let them steer the ship, or else they will throw you overboard, stand there with the life vest in their hand, and then dangle it over the edge and say, you wish you had one of these here, right here, don't you? Don't you wish you had one of these? It's just evil. It is so evil. This is why she has so many men wrapped around her little Crypt Keeper, Lil Wayne looking pinky finger, right? Because if you don't bow down to her, she will weaponize her position and influence against you. She's pitting brother against brother, sister, neighbor against neighbor. It's a very calculated way that they move. And sadly, you have the naive and the impressionable ones. They try really hard to give the benefit of the doubt, to stand in solidarity with these women without realizing that standing with her, it's not going to get you anywhere. In the beginning, it might feel like you're getting something out of it, but in the end, it's not going to get you anywhere. This is why I've been trying to tell my audience that you cannot vote for people or make decisions based on vanity metrics such as gender and ethnicity. Because it's a superficial reason to just hand over power to a person just on that basis alone. This woman, like most of the women who hold matriarchy power, they are narcissists with sociopathic tendencies. And when you don't bow down to what a narcissist wants, all they know how to do is retaliate. They show out. They have these temper tantrums because they live in a perpetual state of arrested development. Somewhere along the line, their brain stopped developing either because of childhood trauma or neglect or being overly spoiled. It depends. It's one extreme or the other. But these people, they act like they are so confident, but they are incredibly insecure. That's why everything that they do has this certain grandiose bravado to it, because they demand worship. This is why her picture's on everything. Her name, her picture, her likeness, it is splattered all over that city. Because as long as you are Team Tiffany, then you don't have anything to worry about. But the moment they sense these narcissistic orangutans, when they sense that you are against them or that you might be second guessing something that they might be doing, all hell breaks loose. Here come the insults. Here comes the smear campaign. They will go and love bomb their new victims, making sure that the new victims believe that you are the problem. It's very sad to watch. I've actually experienced this, but it is very sad that an entire city has been love bombed and that there's this entire community that's now caught in the grips of this matriarchal tyrant who, regardless of how bad it looks, she won't stop because she's going to go down with the ship and then blame her demise and the city's demise on everyone else except herself. I know these types oh too well. It's very scary because these types are dangerous. But here's what I'd like to say specifically about matriarchal leadership in general. We can move this away from both Tiffany and Monique. Matriarchal leadership, by and large, it can be very harmful to a community because it's out of order. And I know that's a strong statement, but look around you. Just look around you. These are just some examples of female leadership where it's gone south. And yes, there are some examples where it hasn't gone south. But in those situations and circumstances, what I have noticed where it hasn't gone south, I've noticed that those women were raised under purposeful patriarchy, or they have some sort of semblance of the necessity of a purposeful patriarchy in their own lives. Right. So these women, the ones where they're like, okay, like, you know, you've got governors of states that are female, right? But they don't have these kinds of problems because they understand purposeful patriarchy. They have it in their own lives. And so they have proper accountability. And that's what's needed to keep it from going left. But in general, having men under like a heavy female leadership, that's just a form of judgment, and it can spell disaster if it is allowed to run amok. Just left unchecked, it's a disaster. Exhibit A, all you got to do is look at the black community. Look at all of these sex scandals in all of these liberal cities that are involving women. And here's what I'm not saying. I am not saying that this type of stuff doesn't happen under male leadership, because it does. It happens all the time. But what you have to understand is that men can separate their emotions from the physical act of intercourse. I'm going somewhere with this. The women in all of these cities where there's some sort of sexual impropriety or just an abuse of power, where there's this element of sexual impropriety involved, the women get into their feelings, which is normal. We're women. And then they start getting sloppy because now they're fully vested. They're all in, right? Just look at what happened here in Atlanta with Natalie Hall, Fulton County Commissioner. You can even look at Fonnie Willis. Look at their behavior. They got into their feelings. They got into their emotions. And in Natalie Hall's case, she was all in. And so when her chief of staff, the man, when he tried to end the sexual relationship, because honestly, that's probably all he was in it for anyway. He was like, okay, this is just what we doing. She slips into stalker mode because she's all in. And her age, she probably thought that this was going to be her forever boo thing. So, you know, she's looking at this situation one way and he's like, listen, it is what it is. Like, we do what we do, but that's all it is ever going to be. And to her, this is, she was calculating, and she was very intentional of how he even got that job. She sought him out to hire him specifically. The whole idea was, oh, that's the one I want right there. Oh, and he gonna make me love him. Watch. And it didn't work out that way. When you give these type of women some power, and then look at how it turns out. Right? Natalie Hall, she couldn't even leave the courtroom without slapping a reporter's microphone away because she was so angry. She was so angry and just in her feelings. that a complete lack of self-control and professional decorum, it just overtook her because the orangutan energy, it just had her consumed with power and control. And she realized that she was losing it. And it was just too much for her to take. She was like, yeah, at this point, I done hit my breaking point. And she lost it. Forget the fact that there are cameras here. I'm a Fulton County commissioner. I know I've just cost the city a judgment over $900,000. Let me just leave this courtroom with my dignity intact, say no comment, and get my tail in the car. She couldn't do that. They gotta show out. They gotta show out. Listen, ladies, these emotions are God-given. They were given to us and we are supposed to have them. Like, I'm a very passionate person. If there is something I am passionate about, I'm full body engaged. Like when I do my shows, I am communicating. I am looking at y'all like y'all are like, we're just right here having a one-on-one conversation. And I believe I communicate that way because it's the passion that flows from me. I just want you to understand what I'm talking about. These emotions, God gave us these emotions. However, we're supposed to have them, but we're supposed to regulate these emotions, right? Like we're supposed to regulate the emotions and function in our proper roles. So when we stay in our lane and we operate in our proper God-given authority and order, right? Because women have some authority, but it's regulated. We expose ourselves to these types of problems when we're not functioning in our God-given order. These types of problems can be minimized, though, if proper order is maintained, right? So, like, it's bad enough that we live in a sinful world. Like, that's just obvious. That is not something that we can change or control. It's a byproduct of the fall. The world is depraved enough. We don't need to add insult to injury by exasperating these sin issues by contributing to the rebellion of the natural created order. What do I mean by that? Like, I already know that I had the propensity to be rebellious and to rule over my husband, just like Big Mama Eve, who came before me, right? Genesis spells it out that her desire would be to rule over him, right? We already know it's innate for us to be that way. So because we are aware of this, when there's a situation, I'm gonna give y'all an example. For example, if it involves my boys, if my husband is around and he has already laid down the expectation or he is already heavily engaged with enacting the discipline, I need to step aside and let him handle it. Like, you can't have two chiefs. You can't have two heads. Everything doesn't always need my input, especially if he's already said, I took care of it. Or if he's like, I got it. That's my signal to move on and go on about my business. It's real simple. Ladies have to learn we got to check ourselves, because if you don't check yourself, you gon' check yourself so you don't have to get checked, right? Because what happens is when he got to check you, now your feelings are hurt. You feel some sort of kind of way. So now you got an attitude. So now you're going to clap back because now you don't appreciate having had to been checked. But if you had just regulated yourself and checked yourself, he wouldn't have to check you. And then there'd be peace in the home. It's very simple. Chaos ensues when things are imbalanced. When you see single mother homes, there is a propensity to be too much imbalance. You either get out of control males, right? Or you get the beta male simps because they were raised by their mama and there was no man to level out and to temper that male female imbalance. So now, hold on. I just had a hot flash. It just came out of nowhere. Hey, JV the Great. Thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate that. He says, keep up the great work. I'm so glad you're here and you stuck around and gave me an opportunity to explain my position. Like I told y'all, men they will hear you out and they will take a matter in and they will fact find and then make their assertion as to where they land. Women, they hear me talk about the matriarchy. So she just hate women. I be like, ma'am, you ain't heard a word I just said. I love y'all, but we extra with it. We are so extra with it. I also want to acknowledge a critical perspective. That is my brother in the Lord, still fired up from Saturday's podcast. Hashtag Jerome Crow. That was a good show. I'm actually going to do a show dedicated to that whole paradigm of Jerome Crow. So you guys got to stick around for that. I don't believe I'll be able to do that Friday. I've got some research that I want to do and some information that I just got my hands on. And so the Jerome Crow show, that's going to be one for the books. So I'm looking forward to that one. So I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss any super chats. Please be sure, if you haven't already liked this video, feel free to share it with your community. I appreciate everyone who has stuck around. We are about 1 hour and 11 minutes in, and I have another example that I want to share with you guys to demonstrate and to lay the groundwork of what I'm talking about as it relates to this matriarchal squalor. So now that we've talked about what it's like to live under toxic matriarchal rule and the chaos that ensues, I want to shift the conversation by providing you a very clear-cut example of why powerful patriarchy is best and why it's needed now more than ever. We needed to kind of overcorrect the unwise and downright destructive matriarchy that we've been living under. So if you want to see in real time matriarchy pushing back against male leadership, I'm going to give you one of the most unlikely examples. And so let me be clear before I begin this review. I'm going to talk and give you an example of what's going on in New York City with Mayor Eric Adams. And you guys know Eric Adams is hardly a picture or the poster child of purposeful patriarchy. I want to make sure that I provide my opinion as it relates to that. However, what I am about to show you is how men in general, even the perceived weaker simp type ones among us who are known to cower back and recoil, at the threat of the toxic matriarchy, even those kinds of men, they have a breaking point. Okay, like these men who would normally bow down to the matriarchal squalor. Eventually they get to a point where they realize that as a man, they just have to step up. They have to lead. So here's a prime example of Mayor Adams attempting to step up and say, okay, enough is enough. Y'all take a look at this.
We need to ensure that dangerous people don't remain on the street.
Deportation flights from the U.S.
Their belongings on the tarmac, lying aside manacles and chains.
Do you say you want to get ICE involved to help deport migrants suspected of crimes?
A long line of shackled men and women scooted off a private detention center contractor's bus, up a mobile staircase, and shuffled onto a private jetliner. This is a deportation flight run by ICE Air.
New York City didn't create this crisis. Not only is it a financial burden, but it is also a burden to the quality of life.
Migrants who were deported to Haiti today attacked pilots and immigration officers on another flight after it landed. Several of those men stormed another recently arrived jet carrying families.
We need to ensure that dangerous people don't remain on the street, and it doesn't matter if they're migrants, asylum seekers, or if they're long-term New Yorkers. This city must be safe. We deserve to be safe, and I believe that wholeheartedly.
Are you looking to take executive action to make that happen?
The topic of New York's sanctuary city status remains in the headline. We're going to hear from Mayor Adams tonight. The mayor has been speaking out against it.
The mayor's shift in opinion on sanctuary laws follows a series of high-profile crimes in which many of the accused suspects are newly arrived asylum seekers. Many times this week, he argued that current policies are a detriment to public safety. Mayor Adams on Tuesday called for more cooperation between federal immigration officials and local police, supporting the idea of them working together to deport migrants who are suspected of serious crimes.
I don't believe people who are violent in our city and commit repeated crimes should have the privilege of being in our city.
The city first began limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities in the 1980s. But in 2014, under Mayor Bill de Blasio, City Council added teeth to previous executive orders, passing a law that prohibits law enforcement from honoring ICE detainer requests if a foreign national has been charged with a crime but not convicted.
The mere fact we cannot share with ICE that this person has committed 3 robberies, that this person is part of an organized gang crew. Mere fact we can't say that and can't communicate with that, that's problematic for me.
Mayor Adams is taking a look at the city's sanctuary laws to address the migrant crisis. This time, he's focused on crime and public safety and the city's ability to collaborate with ICE to address those issues. But speaking with the City Council Speaker earlier today, she says it's a non-starter, that jobs is the answer, not jail.
We are not considering laws, changes to laws. These laws have been in effect for decades.
New York City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams Wednesday standing behind the city's sanctuary laws, saying they were enacted for a reason, to protect innocent immigrants who historically have felt threatened because of their status.
If the council were to change things, it would impact more people, I believe, negatively than a small fraction of what we are looking at right now.
In recent weeks, a small fraction of migrants arrested for high-profile violent crimes. Mayor Adams yesterday saying these incidents should be reported to ICE, but the city can't under the long-standing sanctuary laws.
We can't have these small number of migrants and asylum seekers that have identified that they're going to be dangerous, hide under the law that there's nothing you can do about it because you cannot tell ICE.
Speaker Adams saying collaborating with ICE is not the answer.
People are penned up in Hercs, in other places, in respite centers, whatever we want to call them, these places with different policies with nothing to do. For me, it's going to be the work status.
Council Minority Leader Joe Borelli siding with Mayor Adams.
We are introducing a bill, a total repeal of the 2011, 2014, 2017 sanctuary city laws. I don't anticipate much support from the other side, unfortunately. They should come back with their own new version of the city's sanctuary city in non-compliance with ICE rules that allows the mayor to properly get people out of here who are committing violent and repeated crimes.
As for Governor Hochul,
this is a city rule. City council are the ones that he has to work with. I'm going to continue defending and working under the state law.
New Yorkers need to send a clear message to our elected leaders. Demand better from our criminal justice system.
15-year-old Jesus Rivas Figueroa remains in custody without bail. He is being tried as an adult, and Monday he pleaded not guilty to second-degree attempted murder in the February 8th shooting in Times Square. Figueroa is accused of shoplifting and then aiming the gun at the security officer who stopped him, but then allegedly missing and hitting a tourist in the leg instead. He's also accused of shooting at a police officer trying to arrest him in the middle of crowded Times Square.
We're no longer blurring the teen's face now that he's being charged as an adult. The PBA showing up to court in support of the officers.
This individual believed that he could steal. He believed that he could carry a illegal firearm. He believed that he could shoot into a crowd. And he believed he could kill a New York City police officer. And he thought he was going to get away with it.
Arraigned in court on Saturday, police say Rivas Figueroa and 2 friends stole items from the JD Sports store on Broadway Thursday. When confronted by a security guard, police say he opened fire inside the store, hitting a 38-year-old tourist from Brazil in the leg.
This can't be the message that we're sending the world, that you can't come to New York City, that you can't do some shopping without getting shot.
2 officers spotted the teen near 7th Avenue and 47th Street and tried taking him into custody. That's when he allegedly fired at the officers before running into the subway. Court documents say the teenager returned home and tried fleeing to the city with his mother the next morning, but he was apprehended at a home in Yonkers. Court documents say he was hiding behind a dresser.
This is a national problem. It's unfair for local municipalities and cities to handle this problem.
But the president says the border is secure. Is it?
Well, I don't know the definition of what they're using as secure. You know, if they
would you say it was secure?
I think too many people are coming through various pathways and cavities in our border. And we have to be extremely careful because not everyone that's coming is pursuing the American dream. We need to be conscious of that.
Alrighty, so I appreciate you guys bearing with me through that long clip. I know my clips tend to be longer than most, but I do it for a specific purpose to give context and to just help you take it all in. But first, before I move on, I do want to acknowledge the sponsor of today's live stream, Sister Deborah Peace. Thank you so much for your love gift. She goes, just started watching you this week. Love you for the word and truth. I appreciate it. It is not easy doing what I do, but I do it because I love you guys. But more importantly, I do love God and I love his word. So thank you so much. She is the sponsor of tonight's she is the sponsor of tonight's live stream with the highest super chat. So I appreciate you for making this all possible and helping to reimburse for this new audio mixer. It set your girl back a little bit, but God is faithful and it's going to be all right. But anyway, it was an investment. I can't have trash audio, and I'm interested in doing more in-person live streams and videos, and so I had to upgrade that audio. But thank you so much for that. So there were a few comments that I wanted to engage with because, for one, I have a fellow New Yorker here. I'm from the Bronx originally. So to see Enelita Suarez say, I cannot tell you the mess here in New York. I understand. It bothers me, even though I'm a New York transplant and Georgia is my home. I'm not one of those New Yorkers that come down here and be trying to, New Yorkerize Georgia. I've assimilated and I'm thoroughly Southern now. However, that's my home, right? So to see my home, and I still have family there and friends there, living under this oppressive regime of tyranny and invasion, I can't be silent. I can't just let it go because, that's my people according to the flesh. So I understand. And then also, sister, her YouTube name is long and Yahweh Most High. I know who she is. Finally, I know who she is. But she says, how the heck are they innocent? They broke our laws by crossing the border illegally. Well, we're going to talk all about that. I am very hard on Mayor Eric Adams. Obviously, we don't share the same worldview. However, he's Brooklyn born and bred, if I'm not mistaken. He's former a police. He's a former borough president of Brooklyn, and he has law enforcement experience. So I am trying to meet him halfway and actually give him some praise in the sense that I want to acknowledge that he is doing something that I call purposeful patriarchy. Okay, so in the clip that I showed you, you're able to see and hear New York City Mayor, who is liberal, might I add. I've been very critical of him. However, he is declaring an objective truth, and he is attempting to come up with a solution to save his city. I don't believe that he really thought in a million years that it would end up this way. I do believe that he didn't believe that fat meat was greasy. And now he is seeing, because this is what men do. Like real men at some point, they're like, you know what? Okay. At first I didn't get it and I was going along with the program, but now I see, and now I got to do something about it. Now, if he wasn't such a beta male simp, he would have done this a long time ago. But sometimes you got to go through the fire and realize that the fire is hot and that it is designed to burn. But anyway, Eric Adams, he has come to the realization that this sanctuary city status, it is unsustainable, and that he will not be able to protect his city from ruin, like complete ruin, if he doesn't just step up and push back against the narrative that sanctuary city status is a good and right thing for a community to have. Now, we all knew this, right? And I understand in your liberal stupor, oftentimes because a lot of times liberalism is a godless worldview. And so they're unable to make proper category distinctions, and they will conflate what they perceive to be humanitarian good, but it's on their basis for doing it is wrong. So for example, when Sister Retta makes the statement and says, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm going to tie in what she said because it's a part of what I wanted to highlight tonight. Here you see Mayor Adams. He sees the obvious flaw of such a stupid liberal policy. But what did we observe in that video that I shared that he has to contend with? I don't know if you missed it, but he has to contend. He got a big mama on his hands. I don't know if you noticed it, but when my husband first sent me this video, that was the first thing that he said. He was like, see, there it is right there. This is what we are fighting against. In this particular clip, we see a big mama pushing back. And just so you know, Big Mama is an archetype of a woman who has no history of cooperating with a man or is used to living and thriving under strong male leadership. She has functioned throughout her entire life, making decisions on her own, usually based off of emotion, void of logic. So when I say Big Mama, it's not referring to her size. She was very petite, quite cute, nice little haircut and hair color. By the way, this is not a dermal thing, right? Oftentimes, these decisions might on the surface appeal to human sensitivities, and they seem to be the more compassionate option. However, when examined logically, right, using wisdom, taking into account everything and into consideration, it's just a bad and harmful decision that puts everyone at risk. So you guys, did you listen to that woman? This woman who happens to be Black, her name is Adrienne Adams, no relation to Mayor Mike Adams, Mayor Eric Adams, but she happens to be Black and she is on the New York City Council. She is the speaker of the council. Mayor Adams is here. He is attempting to do what men do, which is solve problems and come up with solutions. Like I said, I'm critical of Eric Adams, but I have to give credit where credit is due. He has finally come to the realization that to save the city and to prevent things from getting worse than they already are, he has to do something. But then here she comes. And I want y'all to listen to Adrienne Adams. No relationship to Eric Adams. I want you to listen to her and let's examine what she said again.
We are not considering changes to laws. These laws have been in effect for decades.
New York City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams Wednesday standing behind the city's sanctuary laws, saying they were enacted for a reason, to protect innocent immigrants who historically have felt threatened because of their status.
If the council were to change things, it would impact more people, I believe, negatively than a small fraction of what we are looking at right now. People are penned up in Hercs, in other places, in respite centers, whatever we want to call them, these places with different policies with nothing to do. For me, it's going to be the work status.
Okay, I went ahead and showed you guys that. Before we move on, I do want to acknowledge the other co-sponsor of tonight's live stream, Sister Anne Marie Easley. Thank you so much for that love gift. She says, stay on the straight and narrow. I love you. Love you too. Thank you for exhorting me to stay on the straight and narrow. I'm always telling people when I started this channel, I recognize it may not be a matter of if I will disappoint you, it is when. So if you stay focused on Christ, you won't go wrong there, because I am flawed and human, but my goal is to stay the course and to make much of Christ. So thank you so much for that super chat. Now, I went ahead, y'all, I played that clip again for a very specific reason. Because she goes, you know, these laws have been in effect for decades. Yes, ma'am. With the beautiful rimmed glasses and the cute haircut. Y'all, I love a sharp haircut. So hear me when I call her Big Mama, it has nothing to do with how she looks. It's the archetype for what she represents, right? It's the matriarchal squalor versus purposeful patriarchy. Stay on task, right? So yes, ma'am, all of that is true in terms of these laws being in effect for decades. However, they were harmful then and they were harmful now. The fact of the matter is, I'm from New York, so I understand the harm that being a sanctuary city, it has never been a good idea. However, in light of the fact that our southern border is more porous than it has ever been, on top of the fact that this current administration basically told people to come, y'all remember that? Having sanctuary city status in this political climate is probably the worst time to have it. And you can't just apply the idea that because the law is old and has been in effect for a long time, that it should just continue. That makes absolutely no sense. That's absurd argumentation. It's void of logic or reason. She just sounds like a silly woman who cannot think logically, because your ears automatically tune out wise counsel and wise decisions in favor of how you feel. This woman is not thinking clearly. She is struggling to function with the common sense that the good Lord blessed her with. And women like this, you guys, they are difficult to deal with. And very rarely are they held accountable for their dumb decisions, because there's always someone coming to their rescue to save them from their own spirit of dumb. She made another statement where she said, you know, I think if we change I'm paraphrasing. If we change the sanctuary city status, then that is going to hurt the innocent ones who are immigrants because of their status. I'm like, wait a minute. If their status is one where they would be in trouble with ICE, that would denote that they're not innocent. I don't understand why people think that it is lawful and good for you to just decide, I want to come to America and I'm not going to come the right way. I'm just going to sneak in through the fence. That's like someone coming to your house, and you're not opposed to having guests, right? No, I mean, most people are like, you know, as long as I know you're coming and I've prepared for you and I know who you are free to come over. But that's like you telling me that you want to come to my house, but you don't wait for an invitation. You don't wait for the green light to come. You just decide you're going to come in through the podcast door and not the front door. You ain't going to ring a bell. You're not going to do nothing. You just be like, I'm here. And you know, and then you shocked when the 9mm on my hip comes before the Jesus in my heart, because it's a knee-jerk reaction for who the heck are you? You know you were coming. We haven't even discussed the idea of you coming. It was kind of thrown out there, but I have not vetted you yet. So the idea, y'all, I don't know why this happens. Every now and again, my nose starts to itch. I think it's fuzz. Maybe it's dog fur. I don't know. But when they make these statements, it's like on the surface, if you're not listening, if you don't have a trained ear to hear what people are saying and then filter that through your brain, on the surface, you'd be like, well, you know, she's right. It's not fair that, yes, some of the people are here, but they're not all committing crimes. They've all committed a crime. Their mere presence illegally in this country is the crime. And I understand if you're seeking asylum, there is a way to declare that, and there's a way to do that. But you can't convince me that that many millions of people, not just from South America, but from all parts of the world, everybody's seeking asylum now. Just everybody's they're being politically persecuted, and they're just coming here seeking asylum all at one time. Is that how it works? Am I supposed to, I mean, I know I wasn't a 4.0 student, but I wasn't a C student either. So I'm just trying to understand, you really want me to be convinced that this is everyone here is seeking asylum. We need to speak in biblical categories, and we need to speak in truth. These people are not innocent immigrants. They are not migrants. They are lawbreakers that are here for whatever reason, a better life, but some of them may not be here. They may be here with nefarious intent. So let me get back to the spirit of dumb that we were talking about with Miss Adams. Women like this, they are used to navigating in a world void of headship of a man. That's why she makes arguments like this. She then says, well, if we change the law now, it's going to negatively impact more people than the small fraction of criminals that are wreaking havoc on the city. Now, she didn't say it like that, but yes, there are criminals that are wreaking havoc on New York City. In her mind, she thinks she sounds smart, right? Like, she believes that she is thinking rightly about this. And sadly, there may be some individuals on this live stream who might be thinking, well, perhaps she has a point. No. Let me explain to you why she doesn't have a point. When I talked to my husband about this video, shout out to you, babe. Thank you for sending this. This was a good one. He sent this to me. And when I watched it, at first I was just happy to see Eric Adams make some common sense argumentation for why we got to do something. And that wasn't why my husband sent me the video. He broke this down in a way, it completely went over my head, and I'm not ashamed to say it. It doesn't mean that I'm not smart or that I am not, I'm incapable. What it means is that he is a man and I am a woman, and we are equal before God, but we were made different on purpose. We think differently. When my husband broke this down for me, he articulated that what Adrian Adams was saying was not wise, but more importantly, it was ignorant, and it was ignorant because she is not taking into account that men, when they see this migrant crisis, men, they are assessing risk. They are assessing danger, external threats, and their ability or capacity to respond to these threats and imminent danger. This is how men think. When this woman fails, she fails to take into account that the people who are wreaking havoc on New York City right now, these are military-aged men. Yes, military-aged men, right? So when men have to assess a threat, they're sizing up the threat from a variety of perspectives, right? These military-aged men, they're in their prime, right? So they're willing to take more risk because the consequences of said risk at this age, it just comes with a different mindset than, say, a 55-year-old man. Like a 55-year-old man, let's just be honest, he's got more years behind him than ahead of him. He's just slower. He's less agile. He's going to think twice about committing certain crimes, right? Like, he ain't about to run through New York City. He's not about to fly around on a moped trying to escape the danger. He's thinking about his last bowel movement. He's trying to keep regular. And he's worried about his knees when they gonna go out, and if he could just get up off the couch without grunting. These are things that older men think about. But this woman, instead of employing logic and reason based on everything that has already happened involving this migrant crisis, all she wants to do She just wants to give these people jobs and take care of them instead of sending them back where they came from. She doesn't understand. She has no idea of the complete risk analysis, right? A complete risk analysis would have taken into account, where do these migrants come from and how old are they? What is life like in their country of origin? These are questions that men, when they're assessing risk, they're thinking about. Here is what I know just by sitting down and listening to my own husband break this down. So, little backstory, in case y'all didn't know, I shared this in a past video. But I married a former passport bro. We ain't ashamed. It is what it is. Life before Christ, it was crunk. Okay. So my husband has traveled all over the world. Okay. His passport is well stamped. Okay. Just well stamped. Just pages like, oh, you've been a lot of places, right? And he shared with me that while it's nice to travel abroad, he was like, Americans have no idea what life is like in other countries. He says, many of these countries that these migrants are coming from, my husband has been to these countries. And he's explained that what this lady fails to understand is that riding around on a moped and committing crime, that's the standard MO in many of these countries. They don't have getaway cars, right? They travel on motorized bikes, snatching purses and cell phones all day. Like that's their everyday thing. It's way more lucrative for these young military age men to just do a quick smash and grab from a jewelry store, grabbing maybe $2,000 worth of jewelry, grabbing a few purses here and there, snatching a few cell phones a day, than for them to work a $15 an hour job or even a $20 an hour job. These people have a completely different mindset. The criminal-minded ones, they don't want to work. Now, some of them do, right? There are some people here who've come here illegally. They're like, if I could just get a job, but that's not the vast majority of them. The criminals don't want to work. It is more lucrative for them to resort to a life of crime on the streets of New York City, because where they come from, you heard the police officer, shooting a cop is no big deal. It ain't that deep to them. The punishment where they are from is different than here. First of all, what the heck is this on my nose? Oh, babe, can you do me a favor? My MacBook about to die. Can you plug it up? The charger's right down there. I'm sorry, you guys. It's a live show. You'll be okay. Okay. Y'all are in my home. Just, these countries that these people come from, they don't have, thank you. Ooh, I almost lost y'all for a minute. They don't have a police force like we do here. Okay, it's very, very different. These other countries, they have police, but they don't function like we do. Like nobody is showing up in Honduras if you call the cops to say, somebody snatched my purse. Like, I'll help you if you really thought that they cared. Right? They got bigger fish to fry. They dealing with cartels and people with machetes chopping off people's head for breakfast. Okay, they way bigger fish to fry. And your Gucci purse or your Michael Kors wristlet is of no consequence or concern to them. They're just like, okay, you're telling us why? They don't care. The same method. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, y'all. Something is itching my nose. The same method of criminality that they do in their country of origin, they're just doing it here. Right? So riding on mopeds and committing crimes, that is an everyday occurrence for them. Talk to any passport bro. Before they go to these countries, they have to be schooled and they have to be taught, this is how you navigate when you go down there, because you may come back broke. Okay, you may not come, you ain't gonna have no wallet. Some pretty chick, she gonna come along, and next thing you know, you ain't gonna have a kidney. Or you're gonna be sending some ransom back for your whole family because you're not moving right. Certain parts of town, you don't go over there, because if you go over there, you may not come back. Like, these are things that passport bros know. And so just men in general, even if you are not a passport bro, right? What you need to understand is that, I'm sorry, y'all. You need to understand that these other countries, they don't have the technology like we have to catch criminals, right? They're not employing some sort of geofencing, cell phone tower pinging, street camera monitoring. Like they don't have that there. Okay, like the police down in Colombia and Venezuela and parts of Brazil, they aren't questioning everybody up and down the strip, opening up an investigation because your purse was snatched or because you got drugged down the block because one of these guys decided to grab your wedding ring off your finger and you were literally being drugged down the street. Like, y'all, they come with a completely different mindset. And to them, it is like payday. This is what they do all day long. These people in other countries, y'all gonna have to forgive me. I need a little water. I don't know what this is on my nose, but it's like a piece of fuzz and I can't find it. So I figure if I just wipe it off, I can get it to stop. So now I can't drink the water because I put my finger in it. Anyway, what y'all have to understand is that these people in other countries, they know how to navigate the criminal element because the crime is so high where they came from. So they'll snatch your phone like it's no big deal, right? In these other countries, everybody is on a bike. Everybody's on a moped. Like I said, they don't have getaway cars. A car is a luxury item. So New York City is giving these people mopeds and scooters to get around, and then they're committing crimes with the very resource that you're providing for them. So this woman, Adrienne Adams, Speaker of the New York City Council, she is examining this from a matriarchal, emotional perspective, right? Men examine this from a risk assessment, protective, male, patriarchal perspective. And so at the end of the day, men are the ones that are on the streets running toward the danger. Women were nurturers. She wants to nurture these military-age men who are vibrant and full of energy and testosterone and hearts full of nefarious intent like they are her children. You heard her say it. She said for her, it's about being able to get them jobs because, they don't have anything to do. Yes, they do. Crime is what they do. This is one of the main reasons why I am hesitant to elect females to prominent positions of power. I'm not saying all women are like this, but when you're a female and you're running for office, I'm not saying I would never vote for you, but I give a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth look. Because the problem comes when you have male leadership stepping up and they're making a wise decision in light of everything that they know, everything that's already transpired up to this point. Instead of her backing up the mayor and supporting what he is saying for the good of all of the taxpayers of the city of New York, what does she do? She pushes back on the basis of an emotional, pseudo-humanitarian appeal. Y'all can you imagine if she was the mayor? Listen. Y'all think y'all living up there and it's bad now? If this woman was the mayor, this lady basically wants to cuddle and coddle and rub the back of the wolves, right? There are wolves that are threatening the safety of New York City residents. And New York City is at the point where they need stern and firm leadership to bring the city back to order. But no, like an unruly, rebellious orangutan, like they always do, they push back against what is obvious because they must assert their authority. They must be adversarial for the sake of being adversarial. It's like being adversarial for adversarial's sake, right? They don't know how to concede when the decisions and positions that they hold on a particular issue, when it's obvious that it's not working and that it's a bad idea. No, they don't give in. They never surrender. These types of women, they bring harm and destruction and chaos because it's all that they know. All you have to do, look at the matriarchal, heavy-handed leadership that has dominated the Black community over the last 30 to 40 years, right? Like, look at how rampantly out of control our young men and boys are. Y'all, there's an absence of purposeful patriarchy, and as a result, our inner cities are matriarchal cesspools of squalor and rebellion. That's what you're seeing. All men who are worth their salt and can see this, they see it and they get it because they know at the end of the day, these men know that they are the ones. Oh gosh. Okay, is there like fuzz floating around the room or something? Like, can I get a paper towel or something? Oh, you know what? This is what we're gonna do. I don't know. Every couple of months when I'm doing a live stream, y'all know this. It just, something makes my nose itch and I can't get it to stop. It is on the nose. It's not in it. It's right there on the edge all the time. And literally, by the time I come off the live stream and end it, it stops. So I don't know. So we're gonna sit here and push through it. Thank you so much, Chris Creative, for that super chat. I appreciate that. Chris says, I travel, and in Latin America, rich or poor, they live behind walls, gates, fences with razor wire and broken glass on top. When they come here, your home is wide open to them. Y'all about to find out. Chris, come on through here, homie, with the truth. I don't know what it's gonna take for me to get these people to understand. They don't want to hear me. They want to think you just being mean and coming down. No, there is a matriarchal aspect to this, and there are blind spots to this situation that we are failing to acknowledge and that we are failing to deal with because we want the vanity metric of, we got the first Black mayor. We had the first attorney general. We had the first Black district attorney. Like, listen, these vanity metrics, eventually you're going to realize that you're like, you know what? I need to look for substance because this is silly. But anyway, let me finish. Where was I? Hold on. No, yeah, I know you. Robert wants me to take a break, but I'm almost done. What I want to do is to help you guys understand, men. When you deal with a purposeful patriarchy, men understand they are the ones that have to run to the danger. However, when you contrast that with a matriarchal culture, when you are dealing with rebellious, emotional women, as soon as she gets knocked over the head because one of them snatched her purse, then she's going to want a man to come and help. She's going to want increased security measures. And I can guarantee you, she's going to be the first one to be like, at the next city council meeting, we're going to need to put forth a resolution for, members of the city council to have security detail because I don't feel safe. I just don't feel safe. And I think, we should spare no expense. No expense should be spared to keep us safe because, I work hard and I'm just here trying to fight for you. And so I need security detail at the house, at the office, when I get my hair done, when I get my nails done. Like, that's what she gonna want. That's what she gonna want. Tell me I'm lying. Where's the lie? Put it in the chat. Be like, April, you ain't lying. Y'all know I'm not lying. But anyway, y'all got me sitting here looking like a coke addict. Oh my gosh. All the things, the imagery. I'm looking at myself, wipe my nose, and I'm like, girl, you look like you sniffing, booger sugar. Y'all pray for me. Stretch your hands out and pray. I'm sorry, I'm hot now. Now I got to take off. Oh, have mercy. The blazer was to, enhance the effect and try to make me look a little bit more professional. It's Wednesday, but it's too hot. I can't do it. Right, he's smoking hopium. Maybe you can sniff hopium. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting off task. But anyway, here are the facts, you guys. Okay, so let's deal with the facts. The facts are that there are unintended consequences by wanting someone to be in leadership or in a position of power merely based on their gender or their ethnicity. That's all I'm trying to convey to you guys. These things must be weighed objectively and not subjectively. Right? So categories and constructs, they should not be the basis of determining whether someone should be leading. Right? Like just like you've heard me say that, we should be placing Christ over color. The same applies when dealing with these categories and these constructs. We need to choose character and the good of the country or the good of the county or the good of the city over these superficial constructs that separate us as humans on superficial or insignificant qualities that don't provide any insight as to whether a person is competent or capable. Okay, so here's an example. What you watched, that's an example of how all of these men who were probably liberal, the police officers that spoke, somebody else, I don't know if it was a male member of the city council that spoke, and Mayor Adams himself, these men are probably all liberal. They don't strike me as conservative men. But at the end of the day, all of these men, they are logically assessing risk and they're making the best decision for the good of the city. Why? Because they are men and they know that they have to step in and do something because their innate nature that God endowed them and created them with demands that they do something. Ladies, it is not in our nature to run to the danger. Okay, so speak for yourself. It ain't in my nature. Okay, I'm just not signing up to run straight to the danger. It's not in our nature to assess a risk adequately and to think quick on our feet in light of the assessed risk. Men are always panning the area, right? Men have a heightened sense of awareness, whereas women, we're just present in the moment. We walking with our Starbucks and we're just, like, going to the car. We got our purse on our, it's just different. We're just functioning. We're just being how we are. Right? Present in the moment. Sure. We as females, we can sharpen this quality over time and we can do it with practice, but it is not normal for us to always be on high alert. Now, if you're from New York City, like you raised in the Bronx and you're a female, you might be, but it still doesn't compare to the level of high alert that a man would do it. Like me being from the Bronx, I tend to move and function a little different than most people, right? Just because you always lived under the constant threat of somebody knocking you over the head. It could be a crackhead, it was just that day, he wants your gold chain. Or they take your shoes off your feet, at least back then in the 80s and the 90s. I don't know what they're doing now, but it was pretty rush. I grew up in the crack era of New York City. So it was pandemonium under Mayor Koch and David Dinkins. We didn't get peace until Giuliani got into office. But what I'm saying is women, we can sharpen this trait over time, but it's not normal for us to always be on high alert like that. That is a masculine trait. God wired us a certain way, but modern society, it doesn't want you to recognize these types of innate gender distinctions. They want you to just blur the lines of gender distinctions and just to make you think that, we're all the same. There's no difference between men and women. We are all the same. But let me tell you something, okay? Now, my husband is next level with it. But he is always looking at the handles on the stove. He's always checking the doors, checking the windows, surveying the property, looking for safety hazards, looking to see if anything out of the ordinary exists that might be a threat. It could be, it just, whatever it is, he's just looking for what could be a threat to the safety and well-being of his family. He cannot help it. Y'all, my husband, he doesn't like sitting. We can go somewhere. He does not like sitting with his back toward a door. That man will stand before he has to sit in a restaurant with his back toward the door. It's not going to happen. He will just be like, we're going to wait for a table where I can sit, where I can see. Because he does not, especially if he's got us and me and the kids, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Men walk on the outside, ladies walk on the inside, right? Like my husband sleeps closest to the door. I sleep on the interior away from the door. I tried that once. We were out of town and I tried sleeping close to the door. And my husband looked at me like I had lost my mind. He was like, you already know what this is. Why are you acting brand new? Like he was lighthearted with it, but I could tell he was a little annoyed because he was like, why are you trying to act like this is not a thing? Get on the proper side of the bed, please, ma'am. And I'm like, I'm sleep here for the night. And he's looking at me like, do I look like I'm playing with you? If you don't move, roll over, ma'am. And I was like, dang, in my mind, I wasn't even thinking of the why. I was like, I'm just trying to switch it up. He's like, this ain't the kind of thing that you switch up. Get your tail close away from the door. I sleeps by the door. That's how it works. So you also know that when a man and a woman are out, you may have seen a TikTok about this. I don't know if a man and a woman are out and a woman chooses to run her mouth and get into an argument with a man or a group of men, the man that's with her now, he has to push that woman back. And in a matter of seconds, he's got to figure out, okay, how we gonna get out of this confrontation? He got to figure out how to get y'all out of the confrontation. And all she's doing is just standing there running her mouth, creating more chaos. He's got to size up and be like, okay, who can I take out first? Okay, who's the weaker one? Who can I take out first? Women, we don't have to think about this kind of stuff. We just exist. We just have to be. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is okay. Eric Adams, at this point, y'all, he's stepping into a normal male headship role. And even in that, y'all, I don't know if y'all listened to, he was being careful about what he says. I don't know if you caught it. But when that reporter asked him if he felt that the border was secure, listen to how he answered it. He didn't say what he felt, right? Well, I feel, now he didn't do that. He was like, what he did do, he did carefully craft an answer that pointed out the truth of the situation without getting into an emotional debate about what he feels. He was just telling you, this is what I know. But let the record show. I want to make sure, let the record show that Mayor Adams, y'all, he talking too much. He's talking too much, and this is why the FBI is suddenly messing with him and his people. Because he knows that something has to be done and that all eyes are on New York City, and New York City is not going to survive if it allows itself to be overrun by illegal migrants. But his master don't take too kindly to him speaking up and standing up for himself. So I am hoping that Mayor Adams, I am hoping that this man stands firm and just mans up and just does what needs to be done for the people who elected him, and forget about what the puppet master in the White House is, who's pulling the strings. I just hope he's just like, you know what, I'm risking it all because at this point I ain't got nothing to lose. Okay, that's what I am hoping happens. I still don't know what's going on with my nose, but this is, I want this to end. I want this to end now. Y'all, I'm about to close it up. So earlier, when I spoke about Monique Owens, mayor of East Point, Michigan, and Tiffany Henyard, who's the Dalton, Illinois mayor, I mentioned how these women are lost. And yes, I would agree that, in my opinion, something is going on with the emotional maturity of these women, but it's deeper. It's deeper than that. Yes, they are probably narcissists. In my opinion, yes, I do agree and believe that they represent and they embody the toxic matriarchy that has gripped this nation for the last 3 generations. However, the biggest takeaway that I want you guys to walk away from this live stream with is that all of us apart from Christ and the wisdom that is found in scripture, y'all, we are prone to hitching our wagons to something that we think appears to be good for us, but in the end will lead you to devastation and dysfunction and utter spiritual death. I want to read to you guys from Proverbs 1, because Proverbs 1 teaches you, where is it? Proverbs 1, starting at verse 22, it says, "How long, O simple ones, will you love being simple? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing and fools hate knowledge? If you turn at my reproof, behold, I will pour out my spirit to you, and I will make my words known to you." Why am I bringing up Proverbs 1? Right? How long will scoffers delight in their scoffing and fools hate knowledge? I bring up Proverbs 1 because when I speak like this, right? Like when I bring up the harmful and devastating effects of matriarchal squalor and the black breeding of the American Negro that has taken place in this country, I get scoffed at. I do. And my nose is itching right now, so I really don't care, but I'm fine with the scoffing. But when we abandon the knowledge of God, when we ignore wisdom's counsel, I saw somebody put it in the chat that it was wisdom. When we subscribe to the godless culture that's not rooted in the knowledge of God, you know, the respect for family and for having a healthy respect for the authorities that are placed in our life. You guys, the book of Proverbs tells us that because you have ignored my counsel and would have none of my reproof, I also will laugh at your calamity. It says, I will mock when terror strikes you. It says, when terror strikes you like a storm and your calamity comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish come upon you. The text says, then they will call upon me, but I will not answer. They will seek me diligently, but will not find me. It then goes on to say, because they hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of the Lord, it says they would have none of my counsel and despised all my reproof. Therefore, they shall eat the fruit of their way and have their fill of their own devices. You guys, here is Proverbs, which is in the book of Proverbs, you have wisdom personified as a woman and is pictured as one appealing to simple ones, right? Those who lack sense. So when you see it saying the simple, it's talking about the ones who lack sense. So when I talk about orangutan behavior, remember, I am talking about the behavior of females who act like imbeciles. An imbecile, I know it sounds derogatory, but it is a person who lacks sense. So here in Proverbs, wisdom refers to the imbecile as simple one, a scoffer, and a fool, right? A fool that fails to heed wisdom. You guys, the fear of the Lord is how we combat this foolishness. The scriptures tell us that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is insight. That's Proverbs 9, verse 10. The American Negro lived under very harsh conditions, yet our outcomes were so much better because we had, understood, and we embraced a purposeful patriarchy. And this matriarchal squalor, it was in the margins. Oh, it existed, but it didn't flourish. It wasn't until we embraced liberalism by way of the civil rights operation of the 1960s that we started closing up our Bibles, clearing out our biblically sound churches that was full of sound doctrine. And we started putting on the heavy grievance robes of blackness, which swapped out the knowledge of the one true God as a matter of first importance. We swapped it out for knowledge and worship of self. The whole Black empowerment, Black female empowerment in particular, it is not contributed in any way to the positive flourishing of society. And we can see it and its toxicity. We can see it firsthand by examining the last 3 generations that are bastards raising bastards. And I know y'all don't like when I say it, but what do you want me to call it? Huh? You got a better term for it? I'm open to it. But you have that and the proliferation of rank feminism that used to respect, adore, and submit to their men, but now not only do they want to be men, they actually despise and degenerate men. These evil people who are at the forefront of this ideology and the pumping out of another generation of unmarriageable women, I am going to be speaking out about it. Now, I'm not going to address it now because I don't have the time. My nose is itching too bad. And I haven't pulled any clips. But perhaps this Friday, I'm going to show you guys and demonstrate how this toxic matriarchy and orangutan behavior has made its way to the second highest office of the land. So you might want to come back on Friday because we're going to talk about it. But as I close, and I'm so grateful to be closing because I want my nose to stop itching. You guys, it is so easy. I want to make an appeal to you, and I want you to hear my heart on this because it is easy to talk and to highlight these orangutans and their destructive behavior. That part is easy. The content just creates itself. However, my question is, if you live in a community that has become infested with one of these women, my question is, what are you going to do about it? Right? Like when are you going to speak up and speak out against this foolishness and just resolve to not support these people just because they are coming to you wrapped up in a particular skin color? Right? Like, do you now see how focusing and emphasizing and being totally consumed with ethnicity and building alliances based on ethnicity alone, do you see how it's a trap? Do you see how it's an idolatrous trap that isn't rooted in Christ? It is man-centered and it is wrong. It's anti-God. And I would go further to say it's anti-Christ because it causes you to worship and serve the creature rather than the creator, as Romans 1 tells us, who is blessed forever. Right? So like if you're in Christ, if you are born of the Spirit and washed in his blood, like the lady from the NAACP said the other day, oh, Lord have mercy. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all gotta forgive me. I'm doing the best that I can. Somebody, Grace Point, you did tell me calamine lotion. I don't even know where to get that. I know they probably sell it at the CVS, but if you're claiming that to be true of you, you should be leading the way, right? You should be leading the charge against the ethnic narcissism. You should be leading the charge to help people understand why God's order and why God's design for human flourishing, why it just works best when we embrace his design and his order. Purposeful patriarchy, you guys, it's not oppressive. I know the world tells you that, but you got patriarchy, then there's purposeful patriarchy. I love adding these adverbs and modifiers to these words because purposeful patriarchy, that is what established this nation on the providence of God. I'm grateful for that. It's part of the reason that made this country great. Yes, we have misogynistic patriarchy, like, in a Muslim country, but that's not what I'm talking about. So don't conflate or confuse those two categories. Because I personally live in a purposeful patriarchy, right? Like it's established in my home. It's established in my church. Praise God for that. There's even an unspoken purposeful patriarchy amongst my friends. I got male friends and it's unspoken, right? Like my life became a whole lot easier. It became more joyful and more content when I just embraced God's biblical order, right? It's the foundation. It's the foundation that made me become what I call a devoted family builder, right? I labor alongside my husband in humble submission to his plan and his vision for this family. And in turn, I get to just experience the loving protection, the undying loyalty and safety that comes along with that. Like, who doesn't want to sign up for that? Because let's be clear. I'm not able to lovingly submit to a purposeful patriarchy in my own strength. That's not how it works. It's only because the Lord, He has purposed in my heart to cause me to walk this way is how I'm able to do this. Like my flesh wants to naturally rebel and embrace the orangutan matriarchal squalor, but through the power of the Holy Spirit, I resist that foolishness because I know it's not good for me. It's not good for the generation coming up after me. Hearts are changed when we understand the gospel and what Christ has done through his sacrifice on the cross for those who believe. That's where change comes from. You may be by nature a child of wrath, as Ephesians tells us, right? Like you may be by nature a rebellious hellion in 5-inch Louboutin stilettos, but guess what? Jesus can make you brand new. Right? Like he can make you a new creation. He can change your heart and compel you to abandon your old self and to put on Christ. Right? Like, because that's what it's all about anyway. It's all about putting on Christ. It's about sinners recognizing their utter helplessness, because we helpless. If we're honest about ourselves, recognizing our utter helplessness and coming to the realization that you just messed up, jacked up. You're just a messed up, jacked up mess. And when you come to the end of yourself and you fall down on your knees in repentance and faith in the only one who can fix it and fix you and not just help you manage your misery so that you won't be in a ratchetang anymore, but he removes your misery. You ain't managing it. The misery is removed and he gives you real joy, real peace, right? Real contentment that's rooted and grounded in the person and work of Christ. So my message is very simple. It's repent and believe today. Like, don't sign up for the matriarchal squalor. You got to embrace purposeful patriarchy by bowing the knee first to the ultimate patriarch, who is God, our Father in heaven, creator of heaven and earth. And once you do that, you'll be able to properly establish and live out God's created order here on the earth. And so it becomes so much easier. It's just easy and natural that you won't even recognize your former rebellious orangutan self. Like you will see her like, oh, Lord have mercy. Who is that? You will recoil back at who you used to be, because when God makes you a new creation, who the Son has set free, honey, listen, Linda, who the Son has set free is free indeed. So you guys, I love y'all. My nose, I don't know what's going on with it. I know that when I go upstairs to wash my face, it's probably going to act like it never happened. And I don't know. But thank you so much for stopping by tonight. Thank you to Circle Draw 26. Thank you for that super chat. I'm so grateful for your contribution tonight. Thanks for stopping by and supporting the show. I apologize for the constant nose scratching, but I don't know. I don't know how to stop it. So she show not free. Yes. Mickey says, In my experience, the women treat employees like children, the mother instinct, which is why many of them shouldn't be in those positions. I agree. I absolutely agree. It's the mother nurture. They don't understand their proper positions of authority. And oftentimes it's just conflated with what they got going on at home. And so this is why we just need to champion purposeful patriarchy. I mean, obviously there are abuses to all of this. So, don't come in the comments saying, well, what about, all the men that abuse their power? Ma'am, I know it because it's going to be a ma'am that's going to say it. I already know. We know that. We don't have to discuss the obvious. We're talking about what is proliferating and causing the havoc and the chaos and the disruption, and it's at the hands of the toxic matriarchy. It's not purposeful patriarchy that's causing this. So anyway, the nose knows. Yes, it does. It knows, Sister Donna. Somebody said, get your husband to pray over that nose. Sis, you spoke true tonight, babe. Stretch out your hands and do something with the nose. I don't know. Maybe it needs moisture. I don't know. I moisturized my face before I did my makeup. I don't know what had happened. But let me see if I do have some merch and products of the evening. Like if you like this shirt, this Woman of God shirt is one of my favorite. I think I might only have large left. This is a medium. So I don't know. But I'm dropping these new tumblers to match our God Never Fails hoodie. Y'all, this is nice. This just came in, and I've had coffee in mine twice. This one's not mine. This is that's actually somebody's that I'll wipe it down. We got that. The redeemed hoodies are in, and we were having there was something messed up with the shipping profile on the redeemed hoodies but that's been fixed now. So I do apologize about that. I don't think I have a picture of it right now, but if you're interested in checking out the merch that the Standard of Truth podcast offers, the website is standardhomeandliving.com. That is the sister Christian lifestyle brand of the podcast, where you can go and shop and buy merch to support the channel and to enrich your spiritual life. There's a QR code if you want to use that to take you straight there. What else do we have going on? We are almost, you guys, we are almost to 40,000 subs. And so I would love to get there by, when should we set? What's the goal? What's the target date? I don't know. I'd love to get there in 2 weeks, but whatever the Lord wants is what'll happen. But hitting 40,000 in the next 2 weeks would be super exciting. So I'm excited about that. And your nose is fine. It's spiritual because of the weight of this commentary. I don't know, but when I tell you it's itching, it's literally like there's somebody here with a feather going like this. And as soon as it moves, and I scratch it, then it moves somewhere else. It's the craziest thing. Oh my gosh, it's annoying. But there's this other resource called 30 Truths for Common Lies for Women. And I thought this was befitting for tonight since we were talking about toxic matriarchy. A lot of times women embrace the toxic matriarchy because they don't know who they are in Christ. They have listened to the lies of the enemy of their soul, and therefore sin makes you stupid, right? But scripture will set you straight. And so if I can provide a resource that can just help reorient your thinking, it would be this one right here. It is a smaller book. It is smaller than my other studies, and that's why it costs significantly less. But this one is called 30 Truths for Common Lies for Women. We also have on here Gospel-Centered Motherhood. And this resource, I thought about having this as tonight's product because we talked about matriarchy a lot and our desire to nurture. Like all of those are innate characteristic traits that women, it's just a part of our nature. However, You want a gospel-centered motherhood. You want to have the right understanding and the right balance for who you are as a mom and what that looks like, what you should be praying for in terms of guarding your marriage, how to encourage your little ones in the early years, and then how to encourage them in their older years. This is just a great resource for that. So we have that. And then, like I said, the merch is always there. This necklace is there. This shirt is there. This glassware is there. So many of the things that you see in and around here are there on the site. So I love you guys with the love of the Lord. I think that was it. That's all I had. So you guys, until next time, grace and peace.